Tommy got hassled a lot just for looking different and being different and having different interests. You know, he didn't want to play football.
He really wanted people to like him, and if they didn't like him, he was kind of hurt and wanted to know why. You know, why don't they like me?
Tom was a quiet guy, but his personality, he would change when he would play the drums. I mean, you could see it.
He was in our high school band. Yeah, he was a band nerd.
Everything was music, music, music.
Tommy would play the drums 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If anything, we had to pry Tommy off the drums.
Tommy always wanted to start a band.
They made up the group, US 101.
Basically, it was a cover band. They were playing Styx.
Stuff like Fog Hats.
Journey was real popular.
Once Tommy was getting more comfortable with himself, that's when he got really cute. The girls started really digging him.
This one girl would come over and she would be in the driveway or on the side of our house just screaming, "Tommy, I want to have your baby.
Please come out," and throwing rocks at the windows, and it was pretty crazy. Tommy's mom was very lenient. His dad was a lot more strict.
His dad wasn't real supportive about what was going on. He thought he was more or less wasting his time.
They had conversations about his education and where he was going in life.
It got ugly once in a while.
My dad was always a military guy. He had been in the military for about 40 years. And my dad was saying, well, you know, you can always go in the Army and play music. And my brother wanted nothing to do with it. That ended up being a pretty gnarly fight. My dad was pissed off and he said something about being a man, let's go outside. He took my brother in the backyard and they were fist fighting. Tommy left right then. He just left and, you know, didn't come back till 2, 3 in the morning, something like that.
Tommy always knew where he was going, but I don't think anyone else knew.
US 101 was falling apart.
There was some infighting.
At about this time, Tommy started dressing a little differently. He was stealing my makeup. He was taking my earrings. He was taking my shirts.
He was starting to play in a band called Sweet 19, starting to play some of the Hollywood clubs, starting to get into the stuff that he really wanted to do.
We had heard through the grapevine that Tommy had got together with Nicky, the guy from London.
Him and Tommy clicked immediately.
He got the call to play with Nicky. He left high school, he left the house, then he moved to Hollywood.
There's nothing you can do to stop him at that point.
I remember just flipping out because all of a sudden he was just gone.
Nicky had a vision of this band.
It was his concerted effort to put the ultimate rock band together.
He had found an amazing drummer.
The problem was just trying to find a great guitarist.
His real name was Robert Anthony Deal.
He grew up in Garden Grove, California.
He didn't like the initials RAD, R-A-D.
He was always coming up with another name every week to be called instead of being called Bob Deal.
When he hit Mick Mars, you know, it just kind of came out and it stuck.
We had a band called White Horse back in the mid-'70s. Mick was a guitar player that followed our band around, and he was just dying to get in our group.
We were playing Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin. Mick would come around to where we would play, and he would just stand there and look at us.
He was introverted and shy.
Mick had 2 children by his first wife. He had to make money so he could support the kids.
He didn't have a dime to his name. His amp was blown up, his guitar had a broken neck, and the guy had 1 set of clothes.
But it didn't matter. I was immediately blown away by the way he played.
Let's turn out the lights. This guy's just got it.
He added a dimension to the band that we didn't have before.
We knew we were going to be famous. We were in a record deal, and our managers saw disco as the next big thing. We want you guys to put 3 disco songs on your album. Mick and I said, no, we're not doing that.
We were a ballsy rock and roll band, and we weren't going to settle for anything less than that. Things just kind of fell apart after that.
Mick and Kenny continued on for a few years in Vendetta. Pretty soon that band fizzled out, and Mick was back on the streets destitute.
I don't know how Mick survived. He hooked up with another gal. He had another baby.
All of his bills started piling up. He was starting this pattern of failure. And I think he just saw, hey, I'm never going to be able to get out of this if I don't change something.
Mick had put an ad in the recycler stating that he was a loud, rude, aggressive guitar player looking for same. And he got a phone call from Nikki Sixx.
Mick showed up and that was it.
Nikki and Tommy thought Mick had sort of an alien look, and that was appealing to them.
They started collaborating a little bit and held auditions for a singer.
Tommy goes, hey, I know this guy who sings great and he looks cool. His name's Vince.
Vince was born February 8th, 1961 in Inglewood, California. He was adorable. Chubby, short, little squatty legs.
My wife had him on the bed there, and I peered over to watch, and all of a sudden he just wee-weed all over my face. I learned not to be so inquisitive anymore.
Vince was very photogenic. One day they had this milk truck come around, and they saw him, they wanted to take his picture. I put little Buster Brown short pants on him and high-top shoes. And they took his picture, and he made the calendar.
He would be kind of shy in front of the immediate family.
But when you put him by himself in front of more people, then he was another person. Vince and his sister both took dancing lessons. They took tap, they took ballet, and he loved to dress up. He wore the little tights. Then as he got a little older, they wanted to take ice skating lessons.
We entered this competition. I was amazed of the jumps and twirls and stuff that he was doing.
He was the best figure skater. He was #1.
Vince must have been probably 12 or 13 when we moved to Glendora.
When I first worked with Vince in 8th grade, he was very raw talent. Vince wanted to be part of the popular group of kids that played the instruments with the choir.
He loved music.
He wanted to be a guitar player, but we already had some guitar players. Vince was doing the singing primarily. We did some stuff from the rock opera Tommy.
He's a pinball wizard.
It was really a great way to get attention, a great way to be liked.
Vince loved the attention the girls gave him.
Girls made him feel good, so Vince's direction was, gee, I need more of this.
I met Vince at Charter Oak High School. I was a big Van Halen fan at the time. I was looking to put something like that together.
Vince had the longest hair in the school. He kind of looked like a rock star already.
I thought he looked a little like Dave Roth. I asked Vince if he'd sang, and he said he had sang in a band.
He got into this band called Rock Candy.
We got together at a friend's house to play together. Vince was real timid and the voice was weak. We sang Hot Legs by Rod Stewart. I remember trying to coach him into putting a little more oomph behind it, and that's when I was pretty sure he hadn't sang in a band before.
Rock Candy was doing a lot of covers. Cheap Trick, some Eddie Money, Led Zeppelin.
As we played more and more things, Vince seemed to become more confident. His voice became stronger and bigger.
When Vince was on stage, he was a very different person. He would just lose himself.
He had so much charisma that he could really get an audience going.
The girls loved him. I couldn't believe this was my boy.
Vince switched from Charter Oak High School over to Royal Oak High School.
Vince and Tommy met through school.
Tommy played in the US 101 band, and he played like Beach Boy stuff. They were like Goody Two Shoes band. We were like a rock band.
Tommy looked up to Vince a lot. He introduced the Bad Girls to Tommy, and Tommy loved it.
Everybody thought Vince was just like the hottie.
Vince was respected because he was the ladies' man.
Vince's girlfriend was Tammy Jones.
They fell in love.
Eventually, they had a baby together.
Vince was 16 years old.
Having a baby at that young age, I think, added a lot of stress to Vince's life.
Vince started losing interest in school then.
His grades started sliding. It got to the point where he just didn't want to go to school anymore.
When Vince dropped out of school, we were very upset because he had so much potential.
He was spending more and more time just in his music.
Vince's mom and dad wanted him to have something to fall back on.
We were very disappointed. We wanted him to be a lawyer or a doctor.
I wanted him at least to a high school diploma. I didn't want him to just be bouncing from one job to another.
Vince had a little temper. He wanted things done his way, not our way. Vince moved out of the house when he was 17. I was devastated. I wanted him to come home. How could he make it in the music field? He was just a boy from Glendora.
The more Rock Candy played, the bigger the crowds were getting. We played a lot of small clubs, and then we worked our way into Hollywood.
We played the Starwood. It's a whole different trip. It's definitely a next step up.
To us, that was, as big as it can ever get.
Rock Candy's playing, and Nicky shows up. I knew of Nicky from the band that he played in called London.
Tommy told Nicky about Vince being the singer of Rock Candy.
Nicky came and said, I found this new lead singer. It's this guy with this unusual voice. He's fronting a band called Rock Candy.
Vince said, there's this band that wants to pay me $150 a week to play with them.
Vince was pretty dedicated to our band at that time.
I go, $150? Buddy, anytime you can make money doing this thing, go do it.
He had the look, but his voice was a little suspect, so we decided we'd go with the look and we'll have to work with the voice as we go.
Nicky had the final cog in his vision in getting Vince Neil. Once Vince joined, something really clicked.
Vince was on his way to be a rock star, and that's what he wanted to be, and that was all there was to it.
When Tommy and Nicky and Vince and Mick finally hooked up, it just came together.
They seemed to have a good camaraderie and seemed to click pretty good.
My brother John was a roadie for Mick Mars, and John gave us a call saying that Mick had just gotten together with a new group and we should come down and see them. My husband wanted to get involved in the music business.
Alan Kaufman had already made money doing real estate.
He came down and took a look at him.
He met with the group and said, okay, I like what I see, let's go ahead and cut a deal.
Alan had a lot of money and started pumping the money into the band.
The idea was you needed to spend money to make the group look important, to make them look like they had already hit #1.
They had better clothes and better equipment.
Tommy told me that we're going to call the band Mötley Crüe, with the umlauts. Well, I knew he didn't even know what umlauts were. It was all coming from Nicky.
You'd see Nicky and the other band members going around Hollywood plastering their posters on all the lampposts.
Mötley started playing clubs right away.
The first show was at the Starwood.
There were a lot of people there that were probably already fans of London, and this was Nicky's new band. It was like, what's this going to be about? When Mötley Crüe hit the stage, it was chaos. It was big and it was loud, it was aggressive.
I just flipped out. That was their first show and just people went nuts. I was all proud, I was all, yeah, that's my brother.
Things were a little rusty, but you could tell the sound was there, the look was there, the energy was there.
It wasn't like, oh my God, this is going to go straight to the moon. They really were gelling. They were determined.
There was something so outstandingly different with Mötley Crüe, you just couldn't help but say to yourself that these guys are either going to fall flat on their face or they're going to go right to the top. In early 1981 in LA, the new wave was probably the biggest scene going on.
It was mostly either dance music or punk rock music.
Bands like X and Motels.
There was a lot of the knack and the cars.
There was like a punk, skinny-tied, short-haired reality.
Mötley's music was different.
Mötley Crüe just represented kind of the underdog because there wasn't a lot of metal.